In search of the truth about Liona and Zhiyu's incident, Charlie asked Shoude to share what he knew. Shoude was caught lying, and Charlie finally threatened him with a terrifying threat. Rich people are used to being trampled on by others, but now it's Charlie's turn to be trampled on, hurting both inside and out. Steve was also shocked to see his son's serious condition. After understanding the cause, he could do nothing but resign himself to Charlie's schemes. Shoude and Steve, who were used to intimidating and cruel to others, are now prisoners living in a dog cage. Dear viewers, please follow this story to the end.
Chapter 2491. Okay, Master. Orvel replied and immediately walked forward, grabbing Shoude's hair, and slapped his hand hard, drawing Shoude's eyes at the gold star. Shoude grew up so big that for the first time he was directly slapped in the face by an outsider. He was furious, but he was so angry that he didn't dare to go out, so he could only endure it. Charlie glared at Shoude at this time and said coldly, "When I didn't let you speak, you couldn't say a word." Shoude could only cover his face and nod his head repeatedly, not daring to say a word. Charlie looked at Stuart and asked him, "I ask you, when Chengfeng Su gave you the order, did he let you kill Liona, or let you kill her with Zhiyu?" Stuart blurted out, "Master, Chengfeng asked me to kill Liona." Charlie asked again, "Then did he feel dissatisfied with Zhiyu, thinking that she turned her elbow out?" "No," Stuart said without hesitation. "Chengfeng loves Zhiyu very much, and he often sighs with us, saying that among the Su family's generation, the smartest and most capable is actually Zhiyu." Shoude's face was already pale. Charlie glanced at him, then asked Stuart, "According to you, in other words, it is impossible for Chengfeng to kill Zhiyu together, right?" Stuart said solemnly, "Yes. Master Wade, although Chengfeng is sinister and vicious, he really loves Zhiyu from the heart. He can't kill her." After speaking, Stuart sighed and said, "You tell me, in the tunnel, when I found that Zhiyu was also on Shred's chariot, I was almost scared to death because I knew in my heart, if Chengfeng knew that Zhiyu was dead, he would definitely condemn me." Charlie nodded and asked him, "That's why you killed Shred with a single shot?" Stuart said truthfully, "I killed. At that time, I wanted to ask Shred who instructed him to harm Zhiyu, but he not only did not say, but insulted me. I was impulsive. The gun killed him." At this time, Shoude on the side was almost frightened. Charlie looked at him and asked coldly, "Shoude, you keep saying that you want to kill Zhiyu, but now it sounds like that's not the case." Shoude hurriedly explained, This me. I am actually not very clear, maybe mistaken. Wrong." Charlie sneered, "Shoude, if you don't have any ghosts in your heart, you can't deliberately dump Zhiyu's pot on your father. Let's talk about it. Did you plan it behind the scenes?" Shoude seemed to have been stepped on his tail, and blurted out, "No, it has nothing to do with me." Charlie nodded, "If you don't tell the truth, it's easy to handle, Mr. Isik." Isik immediately took a step forward. "Master, what are your orders?" Charlie said calmly, "I asked you to find an African hyena which likes to dig in it. Is there a way out?" "Yes," Isik hurriedly said. "The city wildlife park introduced a group of African hyenas some time ago. The owner of the safari park has a good relationship with me and is also a senior member of my hotel. I can contact him and borrow this group of African hyenas." "Okay." Charlie nodded, looked at Shoude, and said lightly, "Since you want to resist, then go and discuss life with the African hyena." As soon as Shoude heard this, his whole body was immediately shocked. He didn't doubt Charlie's determination at all. This guy was not only amazing in strength, amazing in methods, but also amazing in courage. If it really annoys him, I am afraid that it will definitely not end well. The frightened Shoude hurriedly blurted out, I say all." Charlie nodded and turned on the recording function of the mobile phone video. When Shoude saw that he was going to record the video, he said in a panic, "Wade. Mr. Wade, what do you want to know? I will be honest, but can you please stop recording the video?" Charlie asked him back, "What? Do you dare to do it and still dare not recognize it?" Shoude vaguely said, No, I just, but I'm not used to it." Charlie glanced at him in disgust, and said coldly, "Hammers, nonsense, Orvel, clap your mouth again." Without saying anything, Orvel rushed up and kicked Shoude's fat belly, kicked him to the ground, and then stepped directly on his chest, bent over, and slapped him twice. Shoude was pumped, and the tears of grievance fluttered in his eyes. He had never suffered such a crime in his life, so naturally he felt 10,000 aggrieved. But he also knew that there was no point in being aggrieved right now. If you don't cooperate honestly, Charlie is afraid that he will let Orvel take off his arms and legs. At this moment, Ruoli, who had not spoken all the time, left her mouth and said, "Master, it is too cheap to slap him against this kind of bastard. As long as you order me, I will cut off his arms and see if he dares. He dare not sloppy with you." Shoude's liver trembled in fright, and he blurted out, "No. Don't. I will speak, I will say it." Charlie said coldly, "If you don't get to the point anymore, I will hand you over to Ruoli." Shoude couldn't help shivering, and said tremblingly, "Mr. Wade, it was indeed I who let Shred kill Zhiyu. I asked my subordinates to give his family 20 million, and then let his family notify him to kill Liona. At the time, bring Zhiyu alongside." Charlie asked, "Why did you want to kill Zhiyu? She is your niece, so she didn't provoke you, right?" Shoude hurriedly said, I want to avoid future troubles, because the old man is very dissatisfied with my elder brother and very dissatisfied with Zhifei. If we kill Zhiyu, the future patriarch of the Su family must be me." Charlie nodded and asked, "Who is it that decided to betray Ruoli?" Shoude said without hesitation, "It was my dad's idea." Charlie asked back, "So, your elder brother Xin was actually used by Chengfeng as a scapegoat?" "Yes." Shoude said frankly, "If the betrayal of Ruoli just broke out, people all over the country are scolding the old man. The old man feels that his fame in his entire life cannot be smashed because of Ruoli in his old age, so he gave it all to my elder brother and drove him to Australia." Charlie nodded, ended the video recording, and said lightly, "If you cooperated earlier, you won't have to take the slap these a few times, so next time you stay alert and don't make the same mistake again." Shoude was bitter and couldn't tell, his expression was uglier than his dead father, and asked with a sad face, "Mr. Wade, are you planning to send out all the videos just now?" Regarding the current situation of the Su family, Shoude couldn't be more clear. Originally today, the kidnapping of Liona and Zhiyu was questioned by netizens across the country. It's hard to find a lot of PR soldiers to come out to act as the victims, and forcibly subverting everyone's cognition. If all the things he just said are exposed, then the Su family will be over. Not only will the Su family be over, but they will also become the sinners of the Su family. The old man is afraid that he can't wait to take his own skin. At this moment, Charlie looked at Shoude, who was flustered, smiled slightly, and said, "The video just now was shot in 3 episodes. The first paragraph is your confession. It was Chengfeng who wanted to kill Liona. At the same time, he gave Chengfeng the pot, saying that he also wanted to kill Zhiyu. In the second paragraph, you confessed in person, but you actually hired Shred to kill Zhiyu. The third paragraph is your confession. In Japan, it was Chengfeng who secretly betrayed Ruoli and then gave it to your elder brother Xin." Having said that, Charlie smacked his lips and continued, "Tisk, but, the first paragraph and the second paragraph are somewhat contradictory in themselves, so if I want to send out, I can only choose between the two. 1. After speaking, Charlie looked at him with interest and asked, "Shoude, what do you think I will send out?" Shoude shook his head, he couldn't figure out Charlie's preferences, he didn't know what Charlie wanted to do. In fact, the first and second paragraphs, no matter which one is sent out, you will have bad luck. Seeing that he was not talking, Charlie smiled and said, "To tell you the truth, I plan to send out the first and third paragraphs, because these 2 paragraphs put the 3 of Liona, Zhiyu, and Ruoli. Everything falls on Chengfeng alone. This should be enough for the old dog to drink a pot. I am a person who prefers to concentrate firepower to fight tough battles, so we must first gather all the firepower and knock down the old dog Chengfeng." After speaking, Charlie smiled, changed the conversation, and continued, "As for the second video, I plan to keep it first and send it to your elder brother Xin in the future." Shoude asked dumbfounded, Why would you send it to my big brother?" Charlie smiled and said, "If I send the first and third videos to your elder brother knows that Chengfeng wants to kill his 2 daughters and also wants to kill his wife. Do you think he will fight Chengfeng desperately?" Quote. Shoude said in embarrassment, "This My elder brother is afraid that he has this heart, and doesn't have this ability. It doesn't matter, Charlie said with a smile. Whether Xin has the ability to put aside first, as long as they can completely turn their father and son back, it is enough for me. Shoude couldn't help fighting a cold war. I really can't figure out why this young man in his 20s is so black. If he really sends out the video, the eldest brother and the old man are going to forge a feud. The point is, I shake everything out of the old man's affairs, and also throw Zhiyu's pot to the old man will hate me to the bone. At this time, Charlie said again, when the first and third video messages are sent out, Xin must want to kill Chengfeng in his dreams, and Chengfeng probably wanted to kill you in his dreams. Then, you will beg me take you in and save your dog's life, otherwise, if you just go out, you will be killed by Chengfeng. Even if he doesn't kill you, it will make you worse off. Shoude was even more frightened. Charlie is right. If these two videos are sent out, the old man will definitely strip me alive. This is not an exaggerated sentence, it is a standard declarative sentence. At that time, I'm afraid I really have to beg Charlie to take me in. Otherwise, as long as he let me go out, even if the old man knew that I was threatened by him, he would definitely not forgive me. Charlie continued at this time. As for the second video just now, that is, the video where you confessed that you wanted to kill Zhiyu, I will send it to him when your elder brother kills Chengfeng and becomes the head of the Su family. Quote, in case Xin has a chance to come back, then even if Chengfeng is killed, you will not be able to breathe a sigh of relief, because once your elder brother finds out that you wanted to kill his daughter, he will find a way to find you. Kill you at all costs. Look, how is my closed loop designed? Whether your dad wins or your brother wins, your end will be dead. Hearing this, Shoude's tears were already welling up. He got it. He really understood this time. What Charlie has to do is to keep my father and eldest brother in a state of being hostile to each other all the time, and even kill each other. Quickly. These videos are in his hands, I am dead anyway. The game between the old man and the big brother, if the old man wins, I have to die, if the big brother wins, I still have to die. Charlie, your poisonous heart. Seeing Shoude's tears, Charlie sneered, and said, so if you want me to say, you just stay here honestly. I asked Orvel to prepare a single room for you, which is definitely the best treatment here. If you are still here, I can save your dog's life, but if you want to escape, it doesn't matter. At that time, either your father wants to kill you, or your elder brother wants to kill you. You weigh yourself. Shoude suddenly cried, Mr. Wade, please give me a way to survive, or let us work together, you help me solve my father and my elder brother. I inherit the Su family property after that, all the assets of the Su family will be divided and you will get 30%. After that, Shoude hurriedly said again, Mr. Wade, if you are willing to cooperate with me, I can cooperate with you immediately. First go back to kill my father, and then go to Australia to solve my eldest brother. Hearing this, Orvel immediately cursed, fuck. Shoude, you Fu King want to fart. Do you want to fool Master Wade and let him help you up? UFC King deserve it too. Ruoli on the side heard that Shoude wanted to provoke Charlie to kill her father, and hurriedly blurted out, Master, you can't listen to him slanderously. This kind of person has no credibility at all. Charlie smiled slightly and said, Shoude, even if you kill your father and your elder brother, I won't let you inherit the Su family. Speaking of this, Charlie's expression suddenly became very cold, and he sternly said, I will continue to work hard and flatten the entire Su family. Shoude was frightened by Charlie's eyes. Because Charlie's eyes were full of killing intent. At this moment, Charlie turned around, looked at Ruoli, and said lightly, Ruoli, I know you care about Xin. After all, he is your father, I can understand, but I can tell you clearly now if Xin really has something to do with the death of my parents. I will kill him myself. If you dare to stop me then I will kill you too. Ruoli's body trembled immediately, and quickly lowered her head, and said respectfully, Master, Ruoli's life is yours. Ruoli dare not stop you from doing anything. If my father is really your enemy, you want to avenge your father. If you leave, I will not stop it. Speaking of this, Ruoli knelt on the ground with a puff, and sobbed and pleaded, Young Master Wade, Ruoli has only one request. If my father has nothing to do with the death of your parents, please raise your hand and spare him. Life. Charlie said blankly, Don't worry, I only kill the SCM of Earth. If your father and my parents' death has no direct relationship, I will naturally spare him. Immediately afterwards, Charlie turned around and said coldly, however, in any case, Xin will have to pay the price for the formation of the anti-Wade alliance. Even if the death penalty is unavoidable, the living sin is still inevitable. As the daughter of Xin, Ruoli's heart is naturally thicker than water. However, she couldn't help but murmured in her heart, I owe Master Wade my life, and Master Wade gave me a great opportunity to grow my martial arts strength rapidly. I will be obedient to him in order to repay his kindness. If the father really bears the unshakable responsibility for the death of Master Wade's parents, then if Master Wade wants to seek revenge from him, I will naturally have nothing to say. So, I can only hope that the death of an master's parents and my father is not directly related. Fortunately, young Master Wade is very upright and fair, since he has said that as long as my father is not his father-killing enemy, he can spare his life. The rest depends on father's affairs. Come on, are you innocent? Thinking about this, she reverently said to Charlie, young Master Wade, you have my words, you can rest assured. Charlie nodded slightly and said to Orvel, okay, take this Shoude in, go to the private room prepared for him, and take this Steve by the way to meet his son. When Steve heard that Charlie wanted him to meet his son, he immediately asked, where is Walt now? Charlie smiled and said, your precious son, he is lying in the special room I prepared for him now. Steve blurted out, lying down. Is he sick? Charlie said indifferently, since your son's character is really that of SC*MBAG, so I invited him to come here and make a good bed restoring. As for why he is in bed, you will meet him later, let him personally tell you the details. After speaking, Charlie stood up and told everyone around him, pick them up and take away. Orvel and Isaac went up in person, each of them picked up one, dragged the two of them and walked out. With the back of Charlie's hand behind him, he stepped forward to follow. When they came to the kennel area again, Shoude and Steve trembled in shock when they saw the sight of an iron cage. When they were dragged to continue walking, they found that there were many ferocious fighting dogs in the iron cages on both sides. What made them even more stunned was that there were several iron cages inside, not dogs, but people. Steve saw his son soon. His son Walter, who was lying on a hospital bed at this time, looked very weak. There was a young man with a yellow panel standing beside Walter. This man was holding a bowl of porridge and stuffed Walter's mouth with a spoon roughly. This young man is Kobayashi Jiro, who works as a contractor at the kennel. Steve immediately struggled and shouted, Walter. My son. Walter was also struggling to get up, but because of his weakness, he tried several times without success. So he could only lie on the bed helplessly, crying, and said Dad. I was poisoned, and now I have uremia. After that, he could no longer control his emotions, and cried loudly, Dad. You must save me, Dad. This ghost place is like hell. If you don't want to save me anymore, if I don't go out, I might die here. Charlie smiled and said, Walter, it's impossible for your father to save you, but the good news is that I plan to leave your father here to take care of you, and you and father will live in a single room in the future. After speaking, Charlie said to Kobayashi Jiro again, Jiro, you won't have to feed this Walter anymore, just feed your dog. As soon as Kobayashi Jiro heard this, he was overjoyed and blurted out, that's great, young Master Wade. You don't know, besides feeding this Walter every day, I also give him shit and urine, which is much more disgusting than serving a dog. Charlie smiled slightly. In the future, let his father do this thing. You already spend much time in the past few days. Let Orvel give you a day off. As long as you don't leave the kennel, you can do whatever you want. Kobayashi Jiro bowed in excitement. Thank you, Master Wade. Thank you, Master Wade. If I can take a day off, I want to sleep well, then, and drink again. 2 bottles of beer. After speaking, he looked at Charlie and asked nervously, Master, can I drink 2 bottles of beer? Charlie smiled, waved his hand, and said to Orvel, Orvel, let someone prepare a case of beer for Jiro tomorrow, let him relax. Orvel immediately said, okay master, leave it to me. When Kobayashi Jiro heard that he could have a box of beer, tears of excitement rolled in his eyes, and he choked up, Master, thank you. I haven't had beer in a long time. Charlie smiled and said, as long as you behave well, let alone beer, even white wine, red wine, or even your Japanese sake can be arranged for you. Kobayashi Jiro exclaimed with excitement, Master, I will continue to work hard and go all out. Charlie nodded, waved his hand and said, Jiro, you go and rest first, I don't need you here. Kobayashi Jiro hurriedly said, Okay, Lord Wade, then Jiro will leave first. Orvel winked at his subordinates when he arrived, and immediately one of his subordinates came forward and left with Jiro Kobayashi. Charlie asked Orvel at this time, Where is the welcome ceremony I asked you to prepare? It's been a long time since everyone has arrived, don't you hurry up. Orvel nodded quickly and said, This is the beginning, this is the beginning. After speaking, he hurriedly shouted at the people around him, Quick, get the props. As soon as the voice fell, several of his men immediately took out a large red carpet from the empty dog cage beside them, and a few people laid the red carpet from the hallway of the kennel in an orderly manner and spread it all the way into Walter's single dog. The cage was spread directly on the side of Walter's bed. Another person directly brought Orvel a red suit jacket. Orvel immediately became the MC of the scene and said with a serious and emotional expression, Today, it is Mr. Steve Hogwitz's great day of reunion with his dog son Walter. Father and son, on this good day of universal celebration, let us witness the historical moment of the father and son reunion. After finishing talking, a little brother hurriedly held a bunch of flowers, stuffed it into Steve's arms, and threatened in a low voice, Hold tight, if you dare to drop a flower, I will discount your legs. Steve naturally didn't dare to be negligent, so he could only hug the flowers tightly in his arms. At this time, Orvel pointed to the entrance of the dog cage and said to Steve, Next, Mr. Steve, please send flowers to your dog's son Walter. Everyone applauded. His little brothers immediately clapped enthusiastically. Steve's expression was extremely ugly, but he dared not say a word of dissatisfaction. Seeing that he was still chirping, Orvel couldn't help but cursed, What are you rubbing against? Do you want me to give you another bed next to your son's? Steve shivered with fright, and then he hurriedly hugged the flowers and walked into the entrance of the iron cage with difficulty. Steve, who only wore a pair of pants, was already frozen like a popsicle at this moment, so he walked up like a zombie with limited mobility. When he stepped onto the red carpet and staggered to Walter's bed, Orvel immediately stepped forward and said, Next, please Mr. Steve give flowers to dog son Walter. After that, he explained to Steve, Don, let go of your hand when presenting flowers later. You two should hold the flowers at the same time, face our brother with the camera and let them take a photo of you two. How can you not record such a ritual scene? Steve has the heart to die. His son is lying on the bed like this. He doesn't know what's wrong with him, but now he can only play with him at the request of Orvel, which is extremely insulting. Game. At this time, Walter was in a painful mess in his heart. If he had known that things would develop into a ghost like today, and would kill him, he would not dare to think anything about Doris. But now it is too late to say anything. Steve had no choice but to hand the flowers to his son, while his hand was still holding the other side of the flowers. The father and son looked at the camera together. Several younger brothers held hand-drawn fireworks, crackling and snapping, colorful sequins fell one after another, and the father and son were covered from heads to bodies. At this time, with a flash, a photo full of black humor was taken. Orvel said loudly at this time, The welcome ceremony of Mr. Steve and his son's reunion is coming to an end here, everyone applaud. All the younger brothers applauded, and Orvel smiled and asked Charlie, Master, are you satisfied? Charlie nodded and smiled, It's a good job, it's interesting. Orvel hurriedly clasped his fists and said respectfully, Thank you for the praise, Master. If there is another time, I will do it more grandly. Charlie looked at Shoude, who was frightened and silly, and asked, Mr. Su, do you think we are very particular about our hospitality? Shoude paled with fright, and wailed in his heart, This is what the fuck is called dainty. You fucking call it dainty. You're a devil. However, he didn't dare to say that, he could only follow Charlie's meaning and nodded again and again, Impressive. Impressive. Master Wade is really particular about doing things. Charlie snorted and said, If your son is in my hands another day, I will definitely perform such a ceremony for both of you. It will definitely be more solemn than this. Shoude said in horror, Wade. Master Wade, my son is an honest child. Charlie said coldly. Just attack you, your daddy who is so bad and his son is not much better. Shoude suddenly looked ashamed and did not dare to speak any more. Charlie ignored him, looked at Steve, and said, Steve, do you know why I caught your son here? Steve blinked red and shook his head. Charlie looked at Walter and said coldly, come on, Walter, tell your father about your glorious history. Walter suddenly didn't know what to do. Charlie said coldly, hurry up. Seeing Charlie's anger, Walter shuddered at once, and hurriedly said, I speak, I'll just say. Immediately, he looked at Steve and choked up. Dad, it's all my fault, it's my fault. As he said, he coveted Doris's beauty, and at the same time, he peeped into the Oris Hill industry of the Embrand Group, in order to achieve the goal of killing two birds with one stone, the whole process of poisoning Doris's father. After Steve heard this, his whole person was almost collapsed. At this moment, he knew that his son, who was seemingly well-behaved and sensible with unlimited potential, turned out to be in his bones. It was precisely because of his own son's inferior behavior that ruined his own future and ruined himself by the way. His heart was filled with resentment, and a slap was slapped on Walter's face, and he roared, you be it starred. You not only ruined yourself, you ruined me. Walter cried and said, Dad. I'm sorry. I didn't want things to develop like this. As he said, he looked at Charlie and choked up. Mr. Wade, you have been wronged, and I have the debt. I will bear my own responsibility. Please let my father leave here and return to the United States. Charlie couldn't help laughing. Walter, do you really treat me as a 3-year-old child? I will let your dad go back now. If he goes back to move the rescuer and come to rescue you, wouldn't it cause me trouble? After that, Charlie said again, furthermore, I told you before, since you can drag Doris's father into the water, then I can learn how to drag your father into the water. Starting now, your dad will stay here for 10 years, he will take care of you and at the same time make atonement for you. Walter looked at Steve in tears, crying, and said, Dad, I'm sorry. Steve also shed tears. He really didn't expect to come to China, and he would completely ruin his future and even the freedom of life. Charlie pointed to the empty cage next door and said to Shoude, Mr. Su, this is the single room you will live in the future. If you feel lonely, the son next door can be your company. After a while, I'll find an opportunity to bring your dad over, so that you two father and son can make a table of mahjong. Shoude felt a chill in his heart when he heard this. Charlie forced me to record so many videos. If this were really exposed, the old man would definitely hate me. If he really brought the old man over, it would be so embarrassing to see the father and son in a cage. Awkward. Moreover, if Charlie really got the old man in, wouldn't it be my eldest brother? At that time, my father and I will live in a dog cage here, and he will inherit the position of Su family patriarch outside. Then he will become a serf and sing and become the final winner. Thinking of this, Shoude felt so uncomfortable. Originally, he felt that if his eldest brother Xin was forced away, he would become the heir of the patriarch. Seeing that he's done, he didn't expect to come to a small place like Oris Hill to end up like this. Just when his whole person was in great pain, Charlie suddenly remembered something and asked, Hey, Mr. Su, when we first met in the hotel room, what did you say that you want to beat someone? Shoude didn't expect that Charlie would be interested in matters of his private life. He comes from a big family and pays great attention to his private life. So when Charlie asked about this, he was a little nervous subconsciously and he didn't dare to respond. Charlie couldn't help frowning, and asked him, Why? Don't you want to say? Seeing Charlie's dissatisfaction, Shoude hurriedly shook his head and said, No, I am willing to say, I am willing to say. Immediately, he said 5 to 10, that woman it's Xena. Xena? Charlie asked in surprise, is that Xena, who is known as the Jade Girl in film and television circles? Yes. Shoude nodded nervously, it's her. Charlie couldn't help sighing. Oh, I really didn't expect that the icy and jade lady Xena mentioned in the news media turned out to be your lover. My wife still recognizes her very much and keeps saying she is one of the benchmarks in the entertainment industry, saying that she is very clean and self-conscious, never gossip about trivial matters, and never even takes kiss scenes with other male stars. It seems that most of the people in this circle are unknown of the other side. Shoude nodded awkwardly and said falteringly, she doesn't, kiss the scene because I don't, let her pick it up. I told her before that she must not be with others. Men's intimate contact, even acting is not good. Charlie smacked his lips and said, tisk tisk. If the people of the whole country know that the goddess in their minds will be crushed by your ugly, old, and fat middle-aged fat pig at night. I don't know. How sad. Shoude's expression was very depressed, and his face was red and black. It was obvious that Charlie's words hurt his self-esteem. However, even if his self-esteem was hurt, he dared not say anything in front of Charlie, so he could only nod in embarrassment, and said, yes, what Mr. Wade said. Charlie sneered and asked him, is this Xena always in Oris Hill, or did she come from another place to meet you? Shoude hurriedly said, she came from another place. Actually, she was filming recently. My father suddenly asked me to come to Oris Hill, so I asked her to come and accompany me. Charlie smiled and said, seeing that you are quite old, but I didn't expect you to have a lot of energy. Shoude said embarrassingly, no, it won't work if you get older. Charlie smiled and said lightly, okay, it's not too early, you can take a good rest here, you won't have a bed warmer like Xena's female celebrities in the future, so you have to adapt to life in a kennel as soon as possible. When the time is right, I will send your father over, so that you father and son will reunite. Shoude lowered his head deeply, not daring to answer. Charlie looked at Steve next door and said lightly, take good care of your son here. Steve nodded again and again, I know Mr. Wade. Charlie didn't say much, and said to Isik, send me back. Okay, master. Orvel sent Charlie and Isik out of the kennel. While only Isik was there, he said to Charlie, master, Aunt, it's time tonight, do you think you should let her go? Charlie frowned, it's time. Here. Orvel said hurriedly, this time Aunt performed very well. There was no noise or trouble. Yeah. Charlie nodded and said, then let her go quickly. Tell your little brother, open the door, she can go anytime she wants to leave. Orvel hurriedly said, okay, master, I'll make a call and make arrangements. Charlie patted him on the shoulder and exhorted, the kennel is a big deal here, so you must show it to me. Don't let anyone with unknown origins approach the kennel, and it must be guarded against any intrusions. The little brother may leak secrets to the outside world. Orvel said firmly, master, don't worry, I have arranged all the kennels here. Everyone working here is my confidant, and during this time, I have asked them not to live 24 hours a day. If they leave the kennel, they are not allowed to have any contact with the outside world. All management is closed, and there will be no leaks. Charlie sighed and said, the Su family's energy is very strong. Although they didn't have any industry and connections in Oris Hill before, once they thought about it, they could immediately turn Oris Hill upside down. Maybe the whole Oris Hill would be turned over tomorrow. There may be at least dozens of helicopters flying back and forth in the sky, searching for clues. You have to pay attention. Orvel nodded and said seriously, master, don't worry, I will go all out. Okay. Charlie said with a smile, I can rest assured that you do things, so let's go, I'll go first. Leaving kennel, Charlie returned to the city in a Rolls-Royce driven by Isik. Because Shoude and Steve had just been brought to the kennel, the Su family must be looking for clues all over Oris Hill, so Charlie didn't take the helicopter back. It is too late now. If the helicopter at night is not covered by fireworks, the movement must be very loud and it must be very noticeable. Therefore, it is safer to take a car, at least not to give the Su family any clues. On the way back, Isik drove while asking Charlie, master, when do you plan to send the video? Charlie said, I'll post it in the middle of the night. I'll go back and edit the video, and then process my voice, and then I can send it out. Isik hurriedly asked, then are you going to post it on the short video platform? Yes. Charlie nodded and said, the overall strength of the Su family is still very strong. If I post on other platforms, it is likely that they will be sent to the publicist immediately, but if I post on the family's own on the short video platform, there is such a great opportunity to step on the Su family. The Wade family definitely can't miss it. Therefore, they will definitely not delete the video. Isik smiled and said, if you really post the video on the Wade family's short video platform, not only will the family not delete it, but I am afraid that they will do everything possible to promote crazy. Charlie smiled and said, "That would be better." When Charlie returned home, Claire was still busy in the study. Before Charlie left for Oris Hill International Hotel, she had been busy with the company's business, and now she came back. She has not finished her work. He gently pushed open the door of the study room. Claire was adjusting the design manuscript in front of the computer. Charlie looked at his wife's back, feeling a little distressed in his heart. "I knew that my wife would be so desperate for the cooperation of the Embrand Group. Actually, it is better not to give her this project. It's just that I didn't turn my head back when I opened the bow. My wife attaches so much importance to this cooperation. If I the director ask to stop the cooperation now, she will definitely be hit hard." Thinking of this, he lightly sighed and closed the door again without disturbing Claire. Back in the room, Charlie put water for himself and soaked in the bathtub. While holding the mobile phone in his hand, using simple video editing software, he began to process some of the footage shot today. The main material is two parts. Part of it is in the tunnel, shooting the part of Stuart. The other part was in the kennel, where Shoude was filmed. These two parts not only clearly stated the fact that it was Elder Su who instructed to kill Liona, but also threw Zhiyu's pot on his elder son's head. Charlie knew very well that as long as he sent out the edited video, the reputation of the Su family would be devastated. Chengfeng will also become the most despised old dog by the people of the whole country.